Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. My name is Izzeldin. I am a member of this club and will be moderating today's event. And our guest speaker today has made a very emotional story in the human relations and human history, actually, in the Middle East and in Arabic countries. He was the victim of a very brutal Israeli attack and bombardment, and he lost very dear people in his family. And he didn't take this tragedy in his life to start any revenge or anything, but he turned into a philosophy of loving the life and protecting the life of humans and trying to promote peace and dialogue and friendship and other all good things between the people living in his area, and it's also a lesson to the world. I don't want to talk about his story. He will tell us in a very brief presentation today his story and his mission in life through his organization. I think you might have, everybody has a card here. You can read everything about his foundation that he established to protect life and to respect life and to love the life itself. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our guest speaker today, Mr. Izzeldin Abuelaish. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you, to share with you a human story. The book I wrote, I Shall Not Hate. It's a human story, a message of hope to this world, that the world is in need of it more than any time before. As a Palestinian, that I am proud of. But which Palestinian? A Palestinian refugee that was born, raised, and lived in refugee camps. And from my early childhood, I realized my suffering as a Palestinian refugee. My suffering in this world is man-made. One day, I have a country, I have a place, I have a home, waiting for a humanitarian aids. As a child, I don't remember one day I felt that I am a child. I was born just for the misery of life and the suffering, the abject poverty, but thanks to our parents. In particular, the Palestinian mother. The Palestinian mother is the hero who kept the Palestinian cause alive. Our parents, after they lost everything, they lost the land, they lost the country, but they didn't lose the hope. And they realized one thing: they were not educated. They realized one thing, that the hope is in their children, and education is the biggest weapon. We have to succeed. And that's what I learned in this world. As I said, my suffering is man-made. And that's the hope, it's man-made. So what can I do to challenge this man-made suffering of not accepting it? And in this world we are living in, someone can oppress, can occupy, can kill, can demolish, can do everything. But no one on earth can prevent us from dreaming. I dreamed as a child to be a medical doctor. And life taught me that nothing is impossible in life. Everything in life I planned, I dreamed in, I succeeded to achieve. From Jabalia camp, to Cairo University, to London University, to Harvard, to UK, to everywhere in this world, I succeeded to achieve it with hard work, with determination, and we will never, and I say it to it, I am not a victim anymore. I will never accept to be a victim. I am stronger than before because my life as a Palestinian, it's not the tragedy. The Palestinians, every day in their life is the war. We are tested every day. No one on earth has been tested as Palestinians to face tragedies, to face challenges. But they will never, Palestinians will never be defeated. Because the defeat is the defeat of the spirit, the defeat of the soul. And we are determined. And that's what I wrote in I Shall Not Hate, which carries a human message, a message of hope to the world, which is in need to it. I was the first Palestinian doctor to practice medicine in an Israeli hospital in a formal way, to be equal to them and to show them that we are similar and we are equal, and Palestinians are human as they are, and they give the world as they give, till the day of the tragedy that I don't want anyone on earth to see or witness. What did I see? When I saw my beloved daughters, Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and my niece Noor, these beautiful, bright girls, they were girls. Because in my life I am in debt to my mother, my wife, my daughters, girls whom I raised on human values and norms, to be educated, to be strong advocate for the humanity. They were girls that they never succeeded in their schools, less than 97%. They have their plans, they have their dreams. In a second, these beautiful girls, they became parts. But as a believer, as a Muslim with the faith, from the first moment I saw my daughters becoming parts, drowning in their blood, I wanted to see, where is Bisan? Where is Mayar? Where is Aya? Where is Noor? I can't recognize them. Mayar, the beautiful girl who was #1 in Gaza Strip in math, who planned to follow my path to be a medical doctor, was decapitated. But I say it, thanks God for everything He gave me and He took from me. I said, this tragedy is for good and will be invested for good. And I will never give up or forget my daughters. And from that moment, I swore to God, I swore to my daughters, I will never rest. I will never relax, because I am in my life, I am accountable to my daughters. I see them asking me, what did you do for us? I say to them from here, I didn't forget you. I will never give up, and you will be kept alive. Because as a Muslim, I believe one day I will meet them. But I want to meet them to say to them, I am proud of you, even in your death. And you are still alive. And to meet them with the big gift, which is the justice for them and others. And the means to be used, it's not the bullet. Because I fully believe the bullet is the weapon of the weak. And I was blessed to have stronger bullets than the bullets used. It's the wisdom. It's the kind words and the good deeds. And that's my mission in life, to send this message to this world, a message of hope, a human one, a message of responsibility, and that the freedom of the Palestinian people is from the freedom of the world. No one in this world is free as long as Palestinians are not. No one is healthy as another one is sick in this part of the world. It's time to think, to ask, to look around, and to ask, and to take action. We need to protect our world because the world is becoming smaller and smaller, and violence and hatred and diseases, they are contagious and they cross barriers. No one is far from violence, from hatred, if it is in another part. Violence, hatred, and disease, they cross barriers. That's why I am coming here, and for you, it's a responsibility to spread this message in Japan, in other parts. We are in need to it more than any time before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very tragic indeed, but now the tragic is turned into opportunity to prevent such tragic from happening on Earth. That's the message we have here. So I would like to open the floor for questions and answers. If you have any question, please raise your hand and proceed to the mic here and state your name and affiliation. The first question. Edwin? Yeah. Please.
Edwin Carmiol, freelance. What is the population of the Palestinian refugees and about the other Gazans people? Do they give help to the refugees, or is it just a communication between them? Thank you.
The refugees, the Palestinian refugees, of course, UNRWA, and we have my friend Dr. Sita, who is the Director of Health Department in UNRWA, in the headquarters in Jordan. It's the Palestinian issue, where the refugees are part of it, where the refugees are scattered in 5 fields, in Gaza Strip, in West Bank, in Jordan, in Syria, and Lebanon. And you see what is happening even with the refugees, with the current situation in Syria, which is part of the general situation in Syria. And in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip, which is 1.7 million people living there, 3/4 of them are refugees. But the most important, when you ask about the life status of the Palestinians in these refugee camps, it's not the normal life that they have. The Palestinians are missing, and they are in need of the most holy thing in the universe. And what is the most holy thing in the universe? It's the freedom. The Palestinians are in need to be free as other nations in this world. Give the Palestinians their freedom, then you will see how Palestinians can be independent and to be initiators and motivated to make a difference in this world as they made it before. The life in the Gaza Strip. I am from Gaza, I go there. There is no life in Gaza. And the world turned its eyes to the Palestinians, in the Gaza Strip in particular. Gaza Strip is the largest prison. Palestinians in Gaza Strip, they can't move, they can't travel. Gaza Strip, 50% of the population are children below the age of 15. 50%. 20% are women in their reproductive age. It's women and the children. It's a human, a tragedy. What are we talking about? They are educated, and the most reproductive age of our people, They are sitting there without a future. They go to the university. Engineers, doctors. Gaza Strip has the highest number of PhD candidates, but the unemployment rate is 50, even beyond. So what do we expect from the Palestinians? Everywhere and in the Gaza Strip, that's what is needed. It's the freedom which is missing. In spite, there is no life, and the world turned its eyes and its back to them. But Palestinians, they said no for giving up their rights to have their freedom and to live in an independent state equal to other nations. And they need, of course, your help and others' help. And the Palestinians' freedom, which is important, is needed because the Israelis, they are not free as long as Palestinians are not. The Israelis are not safe or secure as long as Palestinians are not. So the Palestinians' freedom is going to be reflected on the Israelis to be free, safe, and secure.
Thank you. Next question, please. Okay, let me ask, if I may. You are visiting Japan. Could you please tell us about the main goals of your visit and what is the meetings, whatever activities you are doing, and how do you see the reaction from Japanese who are known to be helping Palestinians on the long term? Thank you.
Thank you. The aim of this visit came after the release of my book, I Shall Not Hate. And thanks to Dr. Sita, Dr. Kamata, who helped in promoting this book to be translated into Japanese, where it's now, it's in about 23 languages. It's the bestseller in Canada, in the States, in UK, in many countries, in France, in Italy, in Germany, in Indonesia, even in Hebrew. It was translated, and it was a play in Israel. It will be a play in Germany. That's why it's my mission in this life. And that's why I came to promote this message, where I think the Japanese people also, they need it, because we share the human face. And since I came, we have interviews, we have meetings. Today we have the public event, and I see the message resonates with the people here, and I hope it will be the start for more collaboration and to promote Daughters for Life Foundation. And Daughters for Life Foundation was established in memory of my daughters, Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and my niece Noor, for education of girls and women from the Middle East. Girls who are succeeding from hardship. No difference between Muslim, Jewish, Christian. It's for Palestinians, for Israelis, for Jordanians, for Syrians, Lebanese, and Egyptians. We have this year 5 girls doing their undergraduate studies from Palestine, from Syria and Jordan at the Asian University for Women in Bangladesh. We have girls at the Trent University doing their graduate studies at Oxford Brookes University. And that's what I feel I have to do to keep my daughters alive and to send that message of hope that in every bad thing in life we see there is something good. That's the light of this tragedy. And that Palestinians, they give this world and they will continue to give. But it's time for the world to look at the Palestinians, to help them to get their freedom. It's the first time a Canadian foundation, because Daughters for Life, it's a registered Canadian charity. We gave Israeli girls, we gave Palestinians, we gave Jordanians. We don't discriminate. We give, we are human, and we share humanity with others. And I hope to see girls from Daughters for Life, whether from Palestine, Israel, Jordan, Syria, or Lebanon, and to come to Japan, to study at Japanese institutions, to share and participate in spreading this message.
Thank you.
Ryu Tanaka, freelance journalist. I've been to Gaza twice. One is just after Israel attack in 2009. This is your daughter?
Yes.
Why your daughters were killed by Israel? Why you say I'm not sure, I don't hate Israel? Why you say?
I say I shall not hate because the people were expecting me to hate. All of the people after the tragedy were expecting me to hate. I respond to that with hate. And hatred for me, it's a disease. It's a self-destructive, a chronic disease which destroys the one who carries it. It's not going to go beyond the one who carries it. The antidote of hatred and the challenge to build a shield around you. Not to allow hatred to invade you, to be stronger. With hatred, I become weaker, and I will never become weak. I am ready, steadfast, determined, taller, and stronger to challenge the perpetrator. Not with the same means he used. He used the bullet to kill my daughters. But as I said, I have stronger means. I should be strong, healthy, mentally, spiritually, physically. And that's why I said I am not a victim in life. Don't accept in life to be a victim more than once. I was a victim where I am not anymore, a victim of the killing of my daughters. And we as Palestinians, we were victims many times. The whole of our life we suffered as Palestinians to be victims. But we don't accept to be stigmatized by being a victim. We are surviving and we are standing. And that's why don't accept to be a victim more than once. You need to survive. And the antidote of hatred and revenge, we are thinking, is success. I am not hating any human being. I don't hate any human being, but I hate the acts of the people. And I take responsibility. What can I do to challenge this act and not to accept it? And what can I do to change it? And that's what is needed from all of us, to feel angry. We feel angry sometimes about some people. We feel angry about their actions. What can we do to take actions to make a difference and to stop the bad action? But with hatred, we are destroying ourselves. And I don't think anyone is willing to be sick or to have a self-destructive disease.
This last question, one more question, last question. Almost all children in Gaza is very, very small because of lack of nutrition, malnutrition. It's very miserable situation. How do you think?
Of course, malnutrition is one aspect. The life of the children of the Palestinians, we are talking about life. Is it only food?
Yes.
It's shelter, it's water. Even Gaza Strip, when you look at Gaza, in 2006, the water in Gaza is not safe for drinking. Electricity, they don't have electricity. They don't have water. They don't have employment. They don't have. That's the issue of life. They don't have the vital needs. So that's important. And the most important to get rid of that is give the Palestinians their freedom to take responsibility and to move forward. Then they don't need any help. They need to collaborate with others and to support them. But the most important, the children, they need nutrition. And they are sick because of malnutrition. But the patient who is sick, if you want to avoid diseases, you need to change the context and the environment in which the people are living. So the Palestinians to be healthy and the children to be healthy, it changed the context in which the Palestinian children are living. It changed it from being oppressed occupation environment to be a free, independent environment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Yes. Okay. If maybe I should also intervene. They are. You want to ask? Yes, please.
Yes.
Sarkan.
I'm T.W. Kong. I'm a professional journalist member of the club. I listened I'm very interested to listen that when you confront hatred, you don't attack the person, but you try to challenge the hatred itself. You know, I'm a Korean living in Japan. I've lived here for 40 years, and I respect the society greatly. Many, many good friends, many, many good aspects to the society, and I'm very thankful in many ways. However, after 40 years or whatever, it still pains me to see that there are certain people in this society who still have the wherewithal to say, whether they be good Koreans or bad Koreans, kill them all. Now, how should I, please give me some advice, how should I deal with people like this?
Thank you. First of all, we should not, and that's my personal view, I don't generalize. We should avoid generalization. I worked in Israel with many my colleagues. I felt one of them at the hospital. They are my friends and my colleagues. And still I am in touch with them because medicine, as a doctor where I dealt with, it's a human. Patient equalizes. Medicine equalizes between patients. And medicine is the human stabilizer and equalizer. So number one, not to generalize. If I came to Japan and someone who did bad thing to me, can I say the Japanese people, it's 127 million. I can't judge in a collective way because of one. We need to point by the finger to the one who did it. There are exceptional cases. And as you said, there are people to say that, but it's not the majority. But all of the time, we judge things by exceptional cases. In medicine, when we practice medicine, we don't practice medicine on case presentations, just on cases. We need, what do we call, controlled, a big randomized studies, big sample, not on exceptional cases. That's the evidence-based medicine. So that's one of the things, not to generalize. And the second thing, not to take things to the heart, personal. But the opposite, what can you do to challenge? I can say to you, my daughter Shada, that I am proud of. Shada, she was 17 years old. And what she suffered in 1 year, mountains, I can say to you, mountains can't tolerate it. She was in the high school studying day and night to be one of the top 10 in Palestine in the high school. 16th of September 2008, she lost her mother of acute leukemia. Then 16th of January 2009, she lost the 3 sisters and niece and was severely wounded. She spent 4 months in the hospital I am working in Israel. She lost the sight in one eye, 2 malformed fingers. 3 days after being at the hospital, she said to me, if I can't see with my right eye, I have my left. If I can't write with my right hand, from tomorrow to bring me papers and pencils to write with my left hand. After 4 months, she was discharged, and the high school exam in Palestine, it's one of the most difficult exams. It's a national exam for the whole country at the same moment, from the whole curriculum. They don't care what did you pass through. She did the exam, and the day I was supposed to move to Canada. They announced the result. And she succeeded as nothing happened to her. She proved by evidence that the antidote of hatred and revenge is success, and to move forward, not to look backwards. We need to learn the lessons from the back, from the history. The one who all of the time looking backwards in marathon, the one who is looking all of the time backwards, others will pass him. So we need to be focused, to be determined, to reach our goals, and not to take things deep to the heart, the opposite, to challenge us, because we need to learn how can we challenge ourselves before challenging each other, and not to generalize.
Thank you. We still have about 20 minutes of time. If you really want to ask any question, please just raise your hand. And yes.
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 Is there any animosity in Gaza between Palestinian refugees and, I don't know, the official residents there?
Any?
There are the Palestinian refugees, and then those who are not refugees. Is there any conflict between them?
Palestinians are Palestinians.
Yes.
Whether refugees or not refugees. We
Yes.
don't deal in this way to discriminate. This is a refugee. We are one nation. We live together. We share the history, the present, and the future. So there is nothing of that. Of course, there are conflicts as individuals. Within the family, there is a conflict. Within each individual, we have a conflict. But the conflict to the level, at the national level, to impact the national goal, it's not there. We are one nation. We are one people, whether refugees or non-refugees.
Well, I'm not very familiar what's going on there, but there are some people I want to mention the organization, who are just creating terror among the population.
What do you mean? No, mention, because we need, we are in an open discussion. Can you give me examples? To give me examples.
No, I would be just repeating what's in the newspapers. I don't know if I should...
But thanks God, we have our minds, and we are blessed to be human, to think of what do we read. It's not Bible, it's not Quran or Torah, the newspaper, because in this world we are stereotyped or misinformed, and we are blessed to have our minds and to think of it, if it goes with logic or not to accept it. This propaganda, we should avoid it. And when we speak about Gaza Strip, which is important, what you mentioned, but we are not. Gaza Strip is not a country. Gaza Strip is a small strip. It's a piece of the future Palestinian state. We are talking about a Palestinian nation, and we are trying to talk about a future independent Palestinian state. When I treat a patient, I am a doctor. When I treat a patient, and the patient to come to me complaining of pain in his right hand, I don't focus on the right hand. I treat it in a collective way. So we want to deal with the Palestinian issue in a collective, in a comprehensive and holistic approach, not in a fragmented way to say Gaza Strip. I say it to my Israeli friends when they speak about Gaza. I say to them, it's fine if you want to deal with Gaza. So we are dealing with Beersheba. We are dealing with Tel Aviv. We are not dealing with parts. We are dealing nation to nation, state to state, not party to party or part to part. That's important. And when we speak about the Palestinian people in general, they are not angels. Don't ask them to be all of them angels. But we have one representative for the Palestinian people, which is recognized by the international community. It's called PLO. It's recognized by the international community. And even the Israeli government, which is recognized, whether we accept or not, It's the Israeli government, which was elected by the Israeli public, whether we like or not. So we deal in a formal, recognized way. That's the issue, not to deal in a fragmented and divided way. And you can say, of course, there are some crazy people everywhere. You can say about the Israeli side, what about the settlers? There is 500,000 settlers. What do you think of them? What about Likud party? We are not dealing with Likud. We are not dealing with Lieberman, with Israel Beiteinu. We are dealing with governments and nations. And that's what is needed to focus and to deal with the Israeli government, because by the end of the day, we want to have peace between Palestinians and Israelis, not between party to party.
Yes, Sahisham.
Thank you very much. I'm Yukari Takahashi from Asahi newspaper. Thank you very much. Because your book was translated into 23 languages, I suppose there are many reactions in many countries. Please tell us about the reaction in Palestine and Israel and other countries.
I will start with the reaction in Palestine. I was every year I go to Palestine. And I visit there, even this year, in August, I was there. The Palestinian people, I gave many lectures there, and they started to realize one thing, and even to write it, where Palestinians are proud of what did I do as a Palestinian doctor crossing the borders. I started it when? During the first Intifada. I started working in Israel, not yesterday or the other day. It was during the first Intifada from 93. So they know the Palestinians, the Israelis, they know the Palestinian doctor. That's why, even when I mention it, the Gaza doctor's journey on the road to peace, because it became the brand. I was stigmatized. This is the Gaza doctor at the borders, at the checkpoints. The Israelis to know me, the Israeli public and officials. So the Palestinians, they said, even this visit, a struggle with a new flavor. They realized that's the important, that's the kind of a struggle, and that's the strongest struggle we needed, and to promote it. So Palestinians, the reactions is the positive one, and they are proud of it. In Israel, because it's translated into Hebrew, and it's bestseller there, and it became a play in Israel. And even the play is used by psychologists to manage what do we call positive psychology, and to use it in the treatment of their patients. In the States, in UK, every day I receive emails, whether Palestinians or not, to say you changed my life, because many people, as you asked me, how do you feel? It helps others. How can we think to look inside, to reflect inside? And I can say it, even one of my colleagues, she's a professor with me at the University of Toronto. She said to me, there is a professor with us. He's a Canadian Jew. She said he doesn't want to listen till he read the book. And what he said, she came the second day to say, Izzeldin, I have good news. And what she said, he's writing to her, her name is Kuri, saying to her, now that I have found out who this person is, I can tell you I would be prepared to get down on my hands and knees and wash his feet. I fully agree on his Gandhi-like status, much greater even than the Mahatma, who never suffered the family tragedy that beset Abuelaish. And that's the change. Believe me, this satisfied me. And I can say to my daughters, your holy souls and noble blood wasn't waste. It made a difference. Another one from a Canadian woman to send me, when she attended one of my lectures, to say to me, my first child, what she named her. She named her after my first daughter, Bisan. She said my first daughter, my first child, Bisan, was born on August the 26th of this year, I would like you to know that I named her after your first daughter. Meeting you and hearing your message has stayed with me. It's so important to the future that generations after us continue to work on peace and in rejecting conflict, move forward with the humility and courage to do so. This is what I hope to instill in my daughter over the years to come. And many, I can send you every day, at least 10 emails or messages to come. And this inspires me to do more, but we need all to come together and to take responsibility. It's not one's responsibility. One can do everything, but each of us can do something. Each of us, we need to ask, what can I do today to make a difference? Not in Palestine or Israel, to start with your neighborhood, with your country, because you need to be strong in order to help others. And my daughter Bisan said, everything starts small, then becomes big. Everything starts in one place and goes in different directions. Not to underestimate the size of the action you are doing, the value of it. A small act can make a huge difference in others' lives. So it's a matter of action and to be confident that you can make it. And I don't want anyone on earth to suffer or to see what did I see in life. This makes me angry to see it on daily basis in any part of the world, to see children who are dying from hunger, children who are killed on daily basis in Syria, everywhere, in Afghanistan, in Iraq. I see in them, Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and Noor, where is the world? Where is the world? We are in the 21st century. What are we doing? And that's what makes me angry, to see in these girls and the children, my children. But I will do my part because I am accountable to my daughters.
Thank you. Takashi-san? Yes, of course. So we don't have difference between people here in this room.
Is that the reason? Associate member of the club. I survived the World War II, and I'm a Japanese taxpayer. Tell us what you know about Ogata-san. She has Refugee International. I know Japan is the largest contributor to the United Nations. That's part of our tax money. So I think we do what Japan does as a helper, to give money to Japanese government. And that money must go to your country as well. Ogata? You don't know Ogata-san?
JICA-san president. JICA-san president. Sadako. Yes.
Sadako, yes, Sadako.
I want him to evaluate Sadako.
I remember her father.
But I can say Japan, as a government, as a country, they support Palestinians and support UNRWA and support Palestinian Authority. They support them and they give to the Palestinians. And personally, I learned from my Japanese friends, so Japanese support is there. And we have with UNRWA, as I said, Dr. Sita, who is there, and he is in charge of the health of the Palestinian refugees in Gaza Strip, in West Bank, in Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. And he has many other colleagues who are Japanese working for UNRWA, and he is coming here to raise money for the Palestinian refugees. So there is something that maybe we don't see it, but it's there in the field. And many other organizations that I have seen, they are working in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip, and West Bank, supporting Palestinians even in refugee camps in Syria, in Lebanon, and other parts. So there is, but for me, when you speak about the World War, being a survival, I learned one thing from the Japanese, that the Japanese are not a victim anymore. Japan is stronger than before the World War II. And they were determined. They are not victims. They succeeded to overcome. And it's a role model. And that's what is needed. And that's Palestinians are adopting that role from the Japanese. They didn't look backwards. And they succeeded to build this country and to be higher, stronger, more advanced than before. But Japan can do more through its role at the international community, with the United Nations, with other parties. Even we need from Japan to facilitate between Palestinians and Israelis. We don't want them to support Palestinians. We want them to tell the Israelis, what are you doing is self-destructive. It's destructive to the Israelis and to Palestinians. We need someone who is bridging the gap, not someone to be biased and to take one role against the other. And Japan, with its history, with the wealth, with the resources it has, it can play a major role at the global agenda.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thanks. Yes, please.
Just related to the previous question I asked you, and by the way, it was a good answer. I appreciate your honest advice. Related to, but a little bit different, is since you talk about hate, I shall not hate. In general, do you think that in society, trying to limit hate speeches is an important thing? Now, there is a debate in Japan about legislation that limits hate speech, because some people say it's against freedom of speech, okay? Now, I would like to understand your position on that. Is it better to, like in certain places in Europe, they disallow, and there's a huge penalty for saying things like kill all of certain types of people, right? Here, there's a debate about this issue, so I'd like to understand your view.
I am a gynecologist by practice, and I spent my whole life and career as obstetrician, as gynecologist with infertility and IVF working in Israel. Within the last 5 years, from my work at the University of Toronto, my main focus these days, even 31st of January, I organized the workshop, Hatred, Health and Well-Being. And I invited key experts from the world to the University of Toronto because, as I said, hatred is a public health issue. It's a disease, and we need to study the pathophysiology of hatred. Hate speech is one of the provocative, the triggers of hatred. And there was one study, one of my colleagues from the University of San Francisco, to measure the saliva and the cortisol level after listening to hate speech, it impacted their health. So I think anything that impacts the health should be forbidden, because hate speech is doing harm, mental, psychological harm, spiritual harm. Our words, even the word kills. Any word can kill someone, as the bullet. So the word can do pain to the person. So we need to be accountable to our words. And if we want to say something, we must say it. If it is healthy, if it is good, if it is acceptable to us, we must accept it for others. If I don't accept it to me, why do I want to accept it for others? So hate speech, it triggers hatred and influences the health of the people.
Thank you. Good advice. We are approaching the end of this session, so maybe I would like to ask you to explain to our guest audience today what is the meaning of the names of your daughters, because Japanese are very much interested in such thing, and Japanese, they have the same name for one of your past daughters.
You know, Bisan, it's important for me because Bisan, and I will. Is it? Bisan was my eldest daughter. She was my daughter. She was my friend. She was my manager. She was everything in my life. I delivered her. She was 20 years old. I named her. When she was born, 1987, I thought, which name I want to give my daughter? Because the name, to give your children a name, it's an obligation. You are accountable to it, according to our faith, to select a good name. So I named her Bisan, which is a city in Palestine, in the north of Palestine. And if you know the singer Fairuz, she sings for Bisan. Then Mayar, whom I delivered to, Mayar, I thought, which name? It's the name, it's a Turkish name. When someone to come to give you good news, a good news or a good face. Ayah, you know what is the meaning of ayah from Quran. And my niece Noor, it's the light. And that's why, even because they are alive, and 16th of January was their 5th anniversary, I was thinking, because some people, they think anniversary, I have to celebrate or to remember them. I said, what do you say to remember them? They are living with me. They are moving with me. I don't need to remember them. And that's why what I said, 5 years have passed. 5 years have passed in a flash. Their cries have not ceased. The cries of pain and hope, their heart-wrenching cries and pain, never leave me or my memory. 5 years have passed. Where is Bisan now? Where is Mayar now? Where is Ayah now? Where is Noor now? 5 flowers. They drank from the well of learning and grew up with morals and values and thrived on tolerant Islam. They drank and slept on Palestine's soul that they loved. I say to them, you are with the prophets and saints, martyrs and righteous people. Your pure blood, you were my companions and my comrades in my loneliness, my friends in my calamity, and my daughters in loving me. I miss you each and every second, and long and search for you. Your names don't leave my side. Bisan with the beginning of every morning. Mayar with the cry of every child in the world. Ayah, each time I hear a verse from the Quran, and each time the church bells chime, and Noor with dawn's first light, the promise that I had taken upon myself since day one is to keep your names and the spirit alive, not to forget you, so long as there is life on this earth. We will not despair of God's mercy, nor will despair find us, and we shall meet, God willing.
Allah. Thank you very much. It's very much. With this, we will wrap up our event today. And I think we have everybody heard the message, and we have to maybe write about it in the same way it was told. I would like to take this opportunity to extend you, Dr. Izzeldin, 1 year honorary membership in our club. We hope you come back again, and we hope you find more hope in the future and less hate in the world.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and have a nice evening.